But at the end of the day, employers care about the skill set, and they care about, especially in our market, are you at the forefront of technology? Are you playing around with the tech that's out there? For instance, like with the buzz of AI, it's hard not to, in the job market right now, to talk about AI and count how many times we can say AI in an interview.
Absolutely.
And, for a candidate that's, looking at the job market right now and wants to apply to an early stage startup that's maybe building in this space, the recruiter is going to ask, what do you do in your free time? What tools have you dabbled with? What have you discovered? What have you been able to train? Have you been able to train models on your own?
Awesome, guys. Welcome back to another freshly minted episode of Phantom Edge. I'm here with a very special guest who I'm very excited to talk about. Lacey, how you doing?
What a great intro.
Right. Short and sweet. I wish
That's creative.
right. It's very short and sweet. I mean, I like to get going right away, so that way you could tell your story. Obviously, I'm lucky and fortunate enough to get to know you and know a little bit about your story. So, thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, let's get started. Let's jump in. I think it'd be a good foundation to let people know who you are, what you're building, and specifically what the premise and mission of Metaintro is.
Yeah. So Metaintro, we are a resume wallet for Web3. It's a multi-chain custodial wallet that holds your on-chain credentials and interacts as a browser extension with job applications. So instead of uploading your PDF resume to a traditional ATS system like Lever, Workday, Greenhouse, you connect your wallet instead. The premise behind our product is that you're earning on-chain credentials everywhere on the internet right now. Your POAPs, your layer 3s, your rabbit holes, what have you. But there's not an efficient way of sharing that data to a recruiter. And so that's what our product's out for.
Yeah. And I've had conversations with you and you sharing some of the building stuff side of things, right? I want to know, I've had conversations with a lot of people throughout the time about how people try to break into Web3, right? And it's very interesting. I think it's a time where people are kind of finding the courage to maybe even switch careers. I'm curious, for the amount of people you've talked with, I know you consult people, you guide them through resume building, and a bunch of other great things that you provide. But what do you see? Are people like finding that courage? Are you talking to people who are switching completely different industries? Are you getting like younger generations kind of still figuring out what they want to do with their careers? What's like the demographic you're talking to, and what do you see people kind of why they're jumping into the crypto space?
Yeah. So over the course of Metaintro, so about a year and a half, we've helped thousands of people make the career transition into Web3. And that goes from internship, volunteer opportunities, collab opportunities, all the way to senior level opportunities at large Web3 companies. And so I've had the pleasure of talking to every single type of job seeker from every single part of the world that you can imagine. And on the flip side, hiring managers from every single type of company that you can imagine. And I think a lot of people say that it's the beauty of Web3 because of the openness and because of the access to types of opportunities. But I think it's just, I personally think it's the excitement that comes from people seeing a new industry to be able to hop into. I see it from every single type of candidate. I've talked to 14-year-olds. We hired a 16-year-old to work on our Discord at one point, or maybe he's 18. Hopefully he's not listening to
Yeah.
And I've talked to super senior people in like 50s, 60s that are looking to break into the industry in some way or another. But had you asked me a few months ago, the tone would have been very scared, very quiet, not so bullish on making the career transition into Web3. But I think over the past few weeks, we've seen an uptick in the number of jobs that are being posted, people that are starting to get excited again about the industry, and people starting to land that job.
That's really interesting, actually, because that makes me think about it's when you think about the market conditions, right? Everyone talks about bull versus bear, right? In the bull, everything's green, everything's going up, jobs, people are making money, whatever it may be. What do you think that tick is caused by? Like, are people just really focused on building right now and like really expanding their Web3, either their Web3 department, or projects really like, okay, being intentional with their funding and be like, hey, we gotta stay here for the long run? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really scary market for the past few months,
Hmm.
just given everything both in the macro and micro industry. And it's forced a lot of teams to consolidate, to look at what's driving their product, what's driving their growth, and buckle down on those areas of the business, and unfortunately let teammates go and
Hmm.
redistribute hats, if you will. And then on the flip side, all the people that are being let go are looking at their resume saying, shoot, I need to level up my resume. I
Hmm.
need to make sure my skill set matches what these smaller teams are looking for, whether that's adding new tools to their professional toolkit, getting professional resume help, dabbling in side projects to kind of grow their own knowledge.
Hmm.
This massive layoffs plus the market has really forced individuals and companies to rethink how they fit within the market, both from a hiring perspective, a builder perspective, and a job seeker perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of moving parts, especially with things that you can't control, like the market. So it's interesting that
Yeah.
you've got to see the evolution of different, like you said, maybe a few months ago, people were a little bit more scared, timid, but now it's like, okay, both on the supply side and demand side, they're kind of leveling each other out.
Mhm.
Uh, I want to know, like, what are some tips that you give people, going into the crypto space when they're applying, right? You just talked about people looking at their resumes and see like, I have to juice it up, I got to put some little bit of steroids on it, obviously with some valid experience. But what are some tips I could give to people that are currently seeking, maybe either transitioning or maybe looking for a new role?
Yeah. So if you're looking at your resume, I have kind of a internal checklist of what
Mhm.
I tell people to do to Web3ify their resume, which is a term that I feel like I've thrown around quite a bit over the
Yeah.
past year.
Yeah.
And now it should be tailored to like Web3ify and AIify,
Hmm.
just to
Hmm.
really
Of course.
make sure you're capturing the total
Yeah.
market. But there's a ton of things that you can be doing to your resume to make it stand out. But at the end of the day, employers care about the skill set, and they care about, especially in our market, are you at the forefront of technology? Are you playing around with the tech that's out there? For instance, like with the buzz of AI, it's hard not to, in the job market right now, to talk about AI and count how many times we can say AI in an interview.
Absolutely.
um, and for that, for a candidate that's looking at the job market right now and wants to apply to an early stage startup that's maybe building in this space, the recruiter is going to ask, what do you do in your free time? What tools have you dabbled with? What have you discovered? What have you been able to train? Have you been able to train models on your own? And I think right now I can give you as many resume tips as I humanly have possible, but at the end of the day, it's all going to be about your skill set. And that's on the job seeker saying, hey, maybe I take a break from looking for a job for a week, 2 weeks, and just throw as many new tools into my tool belt as possible. And that part you have to do on your own as a job seeker.
That's really good advice or insight because, yeah, sometimes, like you said, regardless, I mean, Web3, including crypto and AI, is very exciting. And I think that dopamine is what drives the people. Okay, cool. I want to go discover this. But you said maybe take some time off, get those tools in your tool belt, and not just kind of fluff up your resume with buzzwords, rather showcase what you've been doing with the tools that you just added. I'm curious,
Yeah.
Lacey, from a role perspective, I know a lot of people, specifically in crypto, they say there's technical roles, right? Being a developer, that's pretty always, it's been hot for a while. What do
Mhm.
you think are a couple roles that are kind of like emerging or being maybe slept on that people should start paying attention to, aside from like the technical side? Is there any roles that you're kind of seeing that are coming up that are like, okay, you know what? For those that maybe are non-technical, maybe focus on this.
Yeah. Other super popular roles that I'm seeing an increase in the number of listings being posted, and then also given we're venture backed, so naturally my focus on crypto Twitter is also like venture Twitter, if you will. So
Yeah.
I have that perspective of as well of the companies that might be hiring in the next 6 months that are building, getting funded, etc. And we're seeing a lot of infrastructure, a lot of security, a lot of legal, and a lot of content creation. I feel like that's starting to become a little bit more of a conversation in this space, which is great. Now that we have all of these tools to make content creation a little bit easier, accessible, quicker to create, we're probably going to start seeing like a mesh of those types of roles popping up in the market, because we've all learned over the past year and a half that nobody understands what we do in this space. And it's probably time to double down on the teammates or new employees that can create content and marketing materials to explain what we do to external audiences, now with the help of certain AI tools. And so all of that to say, content creation, security, legal, I think those are the top ones that I'm starting to see a tick of increase in number of jobs being posted.
Yeah, well, speaking of content, I mean, I told you before that I love how you guys are going about it, especially taking people and essentially documenting the journey from the beginning, finding a crypto job. So that's exciting. Lacey, the last question I have for you is from a personal perspective. What are you personally bullish on? What are some things that you're kind of keeping an eye on and sharing with your friends or your network? Like what gets you going these days?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the AI train for like months now.
Nice.
My last startup, we were training a model on OpenAI's GPT-3 and Clip neural network. So I've been on this train for a very long time, experimenting with how you even go about training models. And it's been awesome seeing then the rise to placing those tools into consumer hands. And so a lot of my free time, especially in the content creation space, has been utilizing different types of AI tools to create content. And that's something I get super excited about. So like I put my mom on it, put my grandma on it, put my boyfriend on it. It's just fun to play around with and to be able to finally have a technology in your hands that anything you can imagine you can create, which wasn't necessarily possible before. And so that's like most everybody in this space right now is something that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, it's exciting too. As a creator myself, it's been really cool to see. I feel like the market expectations or the growth is gonna get crazy due to these AI tools that not necessarily like they weren't able to do before AI, but I think it's gonna expedite the process. So yeah, I mean, I know you've been experimenting. I saw your lo-fi video that you made and you shared all the tools that I think it was 4 tools you used to make this cool lo-fi. All the beats were made AI with AI, the cover and everything. So that was really cool. So, well, thank you, Lacey, so much for sharing some time with me. I'm excited to obviously always see you grow for Metaintro and for you personally. So thank you for sharing some time with me today.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Until next time.